Ansuz.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm Mr. Lars Kristensen.
Yeah. From the former interview, we talked about the speakers with Mr. Michael.
Yeah.
And now we would like to talk about the cable system of the Audio Group Demark.
Yeah.
That would be Ansuz.
Ansuz,
Yeah. There are many ranges of the cable products in the Ansuz. Could you tell us about the entire cable system?
Yeah, it's Mike and I worked for many years for Nordost in US, where I was the front figure and the vice president of R&D. But there was too much going on, so we left for 11 years ago soon. And I promised myself never to touch a cable again after 20 years of working for Nordost. But then one day Mike came and said, I have an idea, Lars. I said, I don't want to hear about it. Simply don't want to hear about it. And said, yeah, but I'm going to make a power cord if you like it or not, because I have certain ideas. And a few months later, he had made by hand power cable, and I put it in my system, and the system just opened up like this. And I said, oh no, once more time. What Michael look at is a few things to address when it comes to cables. One of the problems is inductance.
Inductance.
Yeah. And most are not really aware of inductance. So what Michael has figured out, if you take a conductor inside with a dielectric around it, and you have two conductors going this way, of course you have a cable with very high inductance with low capacitance.
Yeah.
But then so what's happened when you do this and do this? That's what he did. So we cancellate the inductance in any of our cables. And that means compared to a lot of cables out there, that even when we start, we have around maybe 25%, 30% of the inductance because of cancellation, but it's still low capacitance cable, so they maybe have only half of the capacitance of what's normal. But what was added also is, Michael said, any signal had to be properly grounded. So we also have several conductors, around 10 square millimeter of shielding, more or less in any cable we make. At the same time, we have extremely high mechanical stability, and that's from the least expensive X2 the whole way up to our gold sequence. So we below your lower inductance you can make, your more mechanical stability you have, your better grounding, and controlled impedance and capacitance. It's a good cable. And that's also why we have been successful, because our cables are not system dependent. I mean, there's something really wrong in the system if our cables are not working. So when we move up in the range of cable to C2, then we are adding more technology. And the technology we are adding is what we call anti-aerial.
Anti-aerial.
Yeah. So any length of a cable is an antenna.
Yeah, of course.
And we also figure out that the shorter lengths, like 1 meter and 2 meter, that work beautiful in the range where, from the old days when we have an FM radio, you have this plastic dipole antenna in the back.
Yeah.
So we are in from that range. There's no doubt about that we are receiving more noise which have a bigger interference than else. But in C2 we have an extra part added to the cable, which we call anti-aerial. The more you spend money on our cables, they work less good as an antenna. And no one else have seen that. Because if you have a fixed length, it works as a beautiful antenna. But the double helix we have means that we have a certain number of conductors going this way and other than this way. So we have not a defined length. And that means it's a bad antenna. So that's what we do in C2 and the whole way up. When we go to DTC2, our Supreme and also our Gold Signal, we are adding the most advanced technology we have, and that's our design tester technology. So And that technology we use in our power distribution bars, in our speakers, in our electronics and so on. So that's a common thing. So in general, there's so much high frequency noise around us. You know, mobile phones is a good example. Today we are talking 4 or 5G. In the future we are maybe talking 20 or 100G transmission. And there is even some scientists out there said, don't keep your phone up here. It's a bad idea. It will fry your brain. So that's what we are good at. That's cancellation. We don't like filtering. There's a lot of conditioners out there, and do the work. Yeah, they do work. They are filtering away noise, no doubt about it. But the problem is that do it serially to signal and power. And that means the only way of reducing noise there is to increase inductance. And this is where we have an issue. In our speakers, everywhere, we want to have a low inductance as possible, because inductors do not like instant current flow. Changes in current flow like this, they want to keep it steady. So that means when the driver in the speaker or the amplifier asks, I need instant current now, they cannot deliver. So that means that the dynamic headroom of the system is collapsing more and more. Do we have cleaner sound? Yeah, but the price is less music, because then there's not space for the transient, and we are listening in transient, and that's why. Yeah, can the sound good? Yeah, but the music is getting less and less. So it's where we are so careful about inductance anywhere. So
it's all right.
So that's the basis. We have never had the idea to change people's sound to something different. I hope people love their speakers. I hope they love their amplifiers. So we just want to give them more. So everything we do in Ansuz is about bringing the potential of the system up. And sometimes you can be shocked how good a small rotor or NAD amplifier really is when you start to do cabling right and so on. But Ansuz is not only the cables, it's all our power distribution bars. And that's the heart of any system. When you hear our system, it's where the magic comes from. That's the heart. Because you need to do proper distribution of ground. And this is where conditioning normally don't do that. So we have star grounding, but we also control the impedance. So on the back we have a white circle around our outlets.
You mean the star grounding system for the entire cable?
Yes, yeah. For all the power cables in the power transmission. Because you have the ground potential, and let's say you have a CD player and you have an integrated amp. The CD player maybe have higher ground impedance. That means that you have a noise floor going from here to here.
Of course.
And the signal flow will work differently. So that's why on our distributor we have one spot where we have lower ground impedance, just a few ohms down, and that means everything you connect is going into that point. So the pre-amplifier you have, multi-room, the processor, or the integrated amp where you connect most part, it's very important that you have proper grounding. So people still think that, I have dedicated power line, go to my power amplifier, I have it to my digital part, to my analog part. I think if you take it one outlet and you buy an IKEA distribution bar for $5, I think you'll have better sound. You have to do distribution right. We also have switches, and we call them power switches because you know, when it comes to the Ethernet as a cable TV, it's not grounded, it's floating. And the first thing we do in our switches is to make extremely high quality grounding. And of course you need a high quality power cord to do that.
Of course.
So when you have an external power supply, you have a problem. You have no grounding stuff, you've been floating. You know from cable TV, when you touch the coax connector, you get electric shock from it. And that's the same if the LAN is not grounded properly, you get electric shock from it. So people also think, I don't know where it's coming from, that the Ethernet signal you're getting is digital. It's not, it's analog. It's square waves. So you have a 1 up here, 0 down here. And because of the square is also carrying a hell of a lot of high frequency noise. And you don't hear that before it's not there anymore. that's when you have something in about the audible band, you don't hear it before it's not there. So that's about Ansuz.
So from the D series with the extra cable connected to the power switch or the power box as well.
Power box,
that would be working as cancelling the inductance and grounding as well. With
what we do with that power cord, 5 volts DC out, is first of all to make active shielding.
Active shielding.
So we have a constant. All the specs are always constant. But the other, in a D2, we do have test of digital technology. This is activated by our switch or power box. So it's actually, there it starts to be something else. And that's go the whole way through. So when you go up to the DTC2, the Supreme and the Gold Signal, you're just adding more and more and more technology.
Well, thank you for the explanation about the Ansuz.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure. So
from Audio Group Demark.
Yeah. Was that all right?
Yeah, that was.